Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've been listening to the questions today and the testimony here, trying to think how I would start my line of questioning. Number one, thank you for coming forward. Thank you for the long and distinguished career you have for serving our country in uniform. I hope my daughter is watching this. I hope that your family is watching this, because they should be incredibly proud of you. And I think of my daughter who is just beginning her career and the leadership that you're showing today. You just talked about there not being leaders at the CFPB. Well, there are leaders at the CFP. I think I'm looking at one. So thank you for coming forward. And we're not talking, I don't think, about disparate impact here. We're talking about intentionally sweeping issues under the rug. We're talking about intentional acts by individuals at the CFPB. We're talking about a willful disregard for the law. We're talking about a culture that results when such actions happen. And we're talking about a dedicated public servant who's blowing the whistle here, and the treatment she's received and the treatment others at the Bureau are receiving. Ms. Martin, the No Fear Act requires the CFPB to inform its employees, former employees, and applicants for employment of the rights and protections available under federal anti-discrimination, whistleblower protection, and retaliation laws. Retaliation against an employee or applicant for making a protected disclosure is prohibited by law. Do you think you've been retaliated against?
I know I have, sir, and I'm still being retaliated against in many ways. And if I may, I know that originally this was thought that it was just my case or that I'm seeking justice. Honestly, what I want is a chance to work for the consumers. I will tell you, I have asked my supervisor if I could help with military matters. I was told no. I asked if I could serve on a case. I told them I didn't even have to be first chair, second chair, fourth chair. I will sit on the floor. I was told no. I was told that I've asked if I could do anything at the Bureau that would be commensurate with my pay, my skills, and my abilities. And they won't let me, and I can't explain that outside of retaliation.
You had a conversation with Director Cordray on August 7th, 2013.
Yes, sir.
He asked you to have your attorneys back down.
To tell them, yes, sir.
So therefore, he knew that you were represented by counsel.
Yes, sir, but in fairness to him, he was represented by counsel as well, the OGC. We're both lawyers, so we weren't speaking as represented parties to each other or violating that. It was more, we are the clients of each.
Do you know whether he called your attorneys, though, to tell them that he was going to offer some alternative employment?
I'm sorry, sir?
Do you know whether he called your attorneys to let them know that he was going to offer you some alternative employment?
No, sir, he didn't offer me any alternative employment.
I thought he was talking about, maybe I misunderstood when that conversation that you had with him, that he was...
Yes, sir, it was to solidify my reporting scheme, and my new position was determined when I won a contest. I won a contest that was called Pitch Rich, and this contest gave me the right to implement the program, aside from my EO claims. I had 2 reasons why I should have that job that they gave to somebody else.
Do you think your presence here today weakens the CFPB?
I know it doesn't, and the laws say that. And Ms. Waters said it, that the agency must work well internally in order to perform its vital mission. I will tell you, if an employee cannot eat, cannot sleep, you cannot focus on your work. Not for 1 minute, let alone 8 hours a day. We have crippled employees at the Bureau that need to be fixed and healthy so that they can do the jobs that the American people have hired us to do so we can stand the watch for the American consumer.
Do you think the CFPB should be more accountable?
Oh, yes, sir.
Do you think the CFPB should be more transparent?
Yes, sir.
Do you think that a more accountable and more transparent CFPB would weaken the CFPB?
No, accountability and transparency are always a good thing. And I will add one thing that's interesting, and I just want to be sure to get this in. One reason that the Bureau discounts Ms. Rausch's report, they say, is because it relies on unidentified, anonymous data, and therefore will just hide the whole report. I want to know, I don't want to know, the question that should be asked is, what did they do instead? they saw what appears to be a very damning report. Did they report that to the IG to hold their own investigation? Did they hire another person to look into it? Because obviously they thought it was bad enough to get Ms. Rauchi in the first place. But about the anonymized data, because that feeds into your PMRs that started this whole discussion being made openly, the Bureau relies on anonymized information from feedback that feeds into the employee's permanent evaluation. And the employees don't have a right to speak against whatever was said to them during this anonymous feedback that the managers rely on. So in one sense, they say anonymous feedback is fine, it's reliable, we're going to use it against the employees in their performance evaluations. But then when something comes up against the Bureau, they're saying, oh, it's anonymized and we're not going to rely on it. See, that can't be. You can't have duplicity like that. It's either one or the other. And I argue that anonymized data, if there's a fear of reprisal, then it's obvious why they're not coming forward. And I will also tell you that a person who had what I would perceive to be a relatively good manager was told by that relatively good manager, before you go forward and file this complaint, make sure that you are very careful, because look what happened to Angela.
Thank you. I yield back.